Welcome. Welcome, everyone. I'm Wake, your host for Shaman to Shaman. You've joined a series of heartfelt conversations where we connect shaman to shaman, healer to healer, teacher to teacher, with earth and lineage-based seekers and practitioners from around the world. Today, I'm honored to welcome Kate Dineen, a certified shamanic practitioner, teacher, and sacred earth activist from the United Kingdom. Welcome, Kate.
Thank you. Very nice to be here. Thank you.
I have something to tell the audience about you. Is there anything you'd like to say before I begin?
Just that it's an honor to be here, and I really appreciate what Shamans Directory is doing and the integrity and the other contributors to this program. Thank you.
You're so welcome, Kate. It's nice to see you again. We've known each other for a while, and you're certainly a contributor to the Shamans Directory and to the shamanic community. So let me tell the audience, you're a shamanic practitioner, teacher, and earth activist based in the Cotswolds, offering one-on-one healing sessions, both in person and online around the world. You also teach shamanic practices privately and in groups, and you lead ceremonies honoring life's transitions, from weddings and naming days to house blessings, new beginnings, and eco-activism. Kate is currently developing a professional training for shamanic practitioners, rooted in the Karo lineage and the Four Winds teachings, while also drawing from the deep spiritual heritage of old Europe. She is following the guidance of her beloved teacher, Doña Maria Apasa, bringing ancient Andean wisdom into the land of her birth. Kate's practice is truly chalking the white horse, finding the traces of ancestral knowledge in landscape, myth, and ceremony, and restoring it to relevance today. Her cross-cultural work highlights the powerful resonance between Karo cosmovision and the old earth-based spirituality of her homeland. With a particular devotion to the sacred feminine, Kate has led girls' groups, women's circles, and teachings on goddess traditions and the wisdom of the seeress. She invites women to explore their soul path as a spiral of womanhood, a journey of awakening, embodiment, and the flow with the living energy of the world. Kate's teachings are practical and grounded, simple tools for deepening right relationship with the land and all our relations, human and more than human. Her ceremonies are known for being powerful, heart-led, and in service to personal, community, and planetary healing. We hope the stories Kate shares today will resonate with you and perhaps spark something new on your own path. As with all our Shamans Directory offerings, that you will feel inspired to bring more shamanic wisdom and healing into your life. Shaman to Shaman is brought to you by Shamans Directory, a dynamic online platform where earth and lineage-based shamans share their medicine, build community, and help change the world. Visit us at shamansdirectory.com on YouTube and Instagram. So now, I'm truly honored to welcome Kate Dineen to introduce herself to our global shamanic community. Kate, how would you like to begin?
Thank you. Well, if it's okay with you, I would like to invoke all the spirits of place, if that's okay with you.
Perfect.
Okay, so the winds of the south, Satrimama, Mother Serpent, come. Wrap your coils of light around us. Come, Mother of the waters, come. You who teach us the ways of gravity, teach us how to shed our past in one piece the way the serpent does her skin. Come, Mother of the waters, who carry us into life and out, and who sustain us through our lives. And to the winds of the west, Otorongo, mother, sister, Jaguar, you who hail from the place of the dying sun, you who've seen the birth and death of galaxies, come, teach us our ways beyond this world into the other world, across the rainbow bridge. Teach us your ways of power and protection. Bring your electromagnetic energy to teach us to track for what's true in service to life. And to the winds of the north, of the pole star, Solaris, Cassiopeia, queen of the heavens, North Star, North Pole, the place of stillness, the frozen north. Come, teach us how to find stillness in flight, so that we may link hands across time and space with all of the wisdom keepers, all of the lineages, all of our ancestors, and all those to come, so we may learn how to be a safe harbor to ourselves and our communities, and learn how to drink from the nectars of life herself as the hummingbird and bumblebee, the nectars of Shamans2SHAMAN, healing powers of Mother, Father, Cosmos. Cleanse our three eyes so we may see reality as it is. The nectars, the nustas of Kolke, of the wind, the moon, the stars. Come cleanse our throats so we may speak truth sweetly. And Korinusta, princess of the golden light from Father Sun, from Inti, come, that we may live in Munai. And Pukanusta, from the depths of Mother Earth, the beautiful, warm, healing, nourishing energies, come, fill our bellies and empower us, so that we may truly know what power is. And the winds and the healing nectars of the waters, the mother waters, the Wilkanista, come, bring your cleansing, the most potent healing force in all the universe. You who brought life to earth, come to this space. Come, feed us, empower us so we may be full of sweetness to be in service. And to the winds of the east, of eagle, of condor, of raven, in place of the rising sun, of transcendence, help us to rise above all our human frailties, all our hooches, that we may see the bigger picture as well as the tiny detail, and fly with spirit, and dream ourselves and our world into being the one of peace between peoples, harmony between species, clean air, clear water. And I call upon my Rual, Swift's Hill, my nature father, Heaven's waterfall, my nature mother, my Pakarina, Hampui, Hampui, Hampui. Heaven's two streams, place of mystery, Rodborough Hill of the gold and silver storehouses. River Froom, I call on you, I bring you from your headwaters, this mighty river, 30 million years old, who's created this community in which we live, with your power that flows to River Severn, Sabrina. Doverow Hill, Muna is your name, Maiden Hill, with your gift of sovereignty. Frith Woods, keeper of the trackways, Cud Hill of Kuda and the Kudkalati, Prickly Hill of ancestors and ceremonial ways, Hawkwood Spring, Great Hutcherita, Slad Spring, with your effulgent promise of new life from the belly of Mother Earth to all my Rual, Hampui, 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 Hampui. And above all, Mother Earth, thank you, thank you, thank you for this life. Thank you for the gift of bringing all your children back into your arms who come to me. Thank you for this great gift of incarnation. Thank you, thank you, thank you for the beautiful waters, springs, valleys, streams, hills, trees, plants, berries, flowers, fruits, four-legged, two-legged, winged, finned, furred, creepy crawlers, all of your beautiful diversity and nourishment and shelter. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you.
How beautiful, Kate. And it gives us a sense of the depth of your work and what you bring to each of your shamanic encounters. Let me start with asking you about this beautiful integration that you have in living your own shamanic life between being deeply connected with your own land and bringing to your work the Karo Cosmovision. Tell me about that interface and what your Karo experience, what your Andean shamanic experience adds to your work.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a lifelong ongoing discovery, which I love. It's endlessly fascinating. And I would say that um, the washing line from which everything hangs is the Kero Cosmovision from, Juan and Evangelos del Prado, and the books of Joan Parisi Wilcox, and the teachings of through the Viracocha School, the Foundation, the Global Paco School, and the Kero Masters. And for me, my Doña Maria Rapasa, from whom I received the Nusta initiation. But that understanding about how we're in a flow of the world of living energy, and the very elegant and practical way understanding that they have about each of us finding our own divine spark, our seed self, and that place for each of us that's unique in the cosmos, and how we harmonize our energies with where we live, and with the nectars of nature, and with each other. It's such a profound teaching, and so Doña Maria said to me, 20 years ago when I met her, you must make sense of this work in your own land. And so there she was teaching me about nettles and dandelions in Ireland. But that was it kind of propelled me to start investigating. And also Juan, Stel Prado, with whom I did the Hatun Karpai in Ireland a few years ago. His research is fascinating because he's looked at all the pre-Incan civilizations and how the spirituality has evolved with the culture to become what it was with the Inca, and then how that has come through into what we know today through the Kero. And it just gave me the inspiration to try and do that here. And so that involves a lot of research and reading and looking at archaeology, looking at the landscape, and starting to, through a mix of reading and literally being by a waterfall, or being on a hillside, or being at a sacred mound, tuning in and just allowing that understanding to develop. But I mean, there are some roots. So I think that what the Andean or the Kero refer to, or Joan Parisi Wilcox refers to as the world of living energy, would equate to what the Anglo-Saxons only 1,000 years ago here in the UK would refer to as weird. It's that, you know, in Celtic jewelry, you see that beautiful, never-ending knotwork, and that is a symbolizes that connection throughout time and space, you know, being part of that web of weird or living energy. And they they talked about the weird sisters, or the Norns, who were three goddesses who wove the fates and destinies of humankind. And so that idea of weaving, for sure, there's a parallel with that, with the Kero culture, and that, you know, when for example, when the Kero, when they, as well, you know, when they go about making a mastana, they, from the minute they're carding the wool or getting the plants to make the dyes, they're in ceremony the whole time. And so, and as their subsistence farmers, so their response to spirituality is very practical and pragmatic. And in a similar way, in the Anglo-Saxon times, there's a book in the British Library. It's a 1,000-year-old book called the Spell Book, that was written by a Christian monk, actually, who was a missionary, and recording what he saw, like the Romans did. Julius Caesar and Tacitus, when they came to Britain, they recorded what they saw, and so we can kind of get an idea about what was the culture that was there, that they came across. And so there's a spell book there, and it's clear that, you know, they made invocations, and they didn't make a dispatcho like the Kero would, but they would dig up sods of earth from four corners of a field and bring them into a ceremonial center and pour on libations of milk and honey and berries and seeds and grains. It's something that it would have taken a few days to gather all this stuff, and so it would have that intention and that weaving of energies, that understanding that you're weaving energies together when you do that. So for that, it would obviously be to prepare the field for the seeds, and, you know, for a good harvest. But yeah, I mean, there are lots of equivalents. Or there's the concept of the sin eater, and the burial place of the last sin eater is in Shropshire, on the Welsh borders between England and Wales, and that that seems like an ancient tradition of over a dead, when somebody had died, some bread would be placed on their belly or on their body to absorb all their sins, and then the sin eater, who was somebody who lived on the fringes of the village or society, would come along and digest their sins by eating the bread. And to me, that's like an equivalent to what we call huchamiqui in the, you know, the Kero tradition, or, you know, the Inca Cusco, you know, that being the navel of the empire, where each year all the hoocher of the empire was miquied, was digested. So yeah, there are all sorts of kind of correspondences that you can find, which are to do with playing with and working with the world of energy.
Well, I love how the landscape, how Pachamama, how the land is so alive for you. And I think that is one of your great gifts, to teach that relationship, to teach that awareness. One of your phrases that I really love is that you teach the path of immanence um, in the material world. Explain to us what you mean by the path of immanence.
Yeah, I suppose my experience of that is that it's about embodying and incorporating an understanding of the divine feminine. And I think my great awakening about that was just before I started my studies with the Four Winds. I spent 3 years training with the Four Winds, and just before that, I had a massage client who, every now and again with hands-on work, every now and again something miraculous happens, and he had this miraculous healing experience, and so he was very inspired by that, and he got me to read I've forgotten the name of the book now. It's the Da Vinci Code. So he gave me a copy of the Da Vinci Code to read, which I found really hard to read. From a literary point of view, I found it really hard to read. But the idea in it, I found completely mind-blowing, that what was being laid bare by Dan Brown, and I think his wife had influenced him a lot, was just how the feminine had been written out of Christianity as it developed. And actually, that's not how it was, and it's not how Jesus was. And I hadn't really understood that before, but it kind of really hit me. And I thought, even though, I've grown up in a Christian culture, and obviously at school absorbed all that mythology, and of course the teaching about love of Jesus is, that there's so much about the teachings that are so worthwhile, and culturally, women and the feminine have been pushed out, to say the least, at times. And so it was a massive realization to realize how undermined, at a deep level, how undermined the feminine is and was. And it's not just at a spiritual level, of obviously politically feminism has been doing a lot as well, but I'm just talking about at a really deep level. And so actually he it was through him that I started my training with the Four Winds, because I'd never heard of of the Four Winds, and he got me onto the training. I'm really very grateful to him for that, because I wouldn't have done it otherwise. It was almost like spirit. It was out 9 months after coming back from Peru and being woken up by the mountains that this happened. It was almost like it just flowed, without any of my will. But part of that was just this horror, really, at how what a huge loss to all of us that this has been. And so my experience of working with Mother Earth, with Pachamama, with the Mother Waters, with uncovering the ancient goddess culture that lived here in these lands, literally, but I had no idea about that. It's, again, it's the kind of thing that 30 years ago, if I was in one of the local museums, I would have just walked past these little mother goddess figurines, but now I'm alive and aware of them. But so I think what I mean by immanence is that, as it's different to the concept of heaven and transcendence, and going somewhere else to experience ecstasy or peace or love or the sacred. It's understanding that it's all here in the material, and it's all here flowing through every tree, salmon, thrush, raven, and that we can, when we drop into that kind of awareness and kind of surrender really to really feeling held and nourished by our Mother Earth, that we give ourselves the opportunity to have that exchange so that trees can then talk to us, or clouds can shape themselves into something that's meaningful to us at that moment. So it for me, immanence means understanding the world of spirit as being something that's deep within as well as all around, and that the more we go right down to the depths of Mother Earth and find a warm cave to rest in, the more we can expand out into the cosmos. And that when we can have that flow, and when we're in that flow, we can really start to communicate with all the other beings, and hopefully learn from them, at the very least be nourished by them, and learn how to be in guardianship of them, with them.
I think, Kate, you're speaking so profoundly of your commitment to reanimate the goddess culture and to bring this reality more into life, into our lives. Let's Let me ask you for a moment about your client sessions. If someone were to come to you, either in person or at a distance, how might you approach that first meeting?
Sometimes it can be just a 10-minute exchange just to get an idea, or more often than not, somebody, we find a 2-hour slot, so I spend 2 hours with each person, and they have an idea about what they want to work with, obviously, and then I listen to them for about half that time, for about up to an hour, and I listen to them tell their story, and in listening to them, I'm tracking their energy to see whatever issue it is they're coming with that's blocking them. Just to find the most efficient way to work with their energy body, and it isn't until I actually go into doing the energy work that where we switch from talking to just doing the energy work, that it becomes, I'm listening to my guides and responding to their energy and doing what's needed. So I don't have any preconceptions about what I'm going to do, but that time to begin with, it will have given me the picture, the energetic picture. So I'm not really getting into the stories. I'm listening, and I'm tracking their energy. And so, when it comes to it, it can be that we're releasing some heaviness that's been passed down through the generations, or that has been carried from one lifetime to another, or is related to trauma events that have happened in this life. it almost doesn't matter what it is. It's ultimately where I love the way the Kero look at it. They just, without judgment, just call it hucha, heavy energy. And to me, that's a very clean, clear way of looking at it. And once we start moving to the energy work, I then do a salmon track weave with them. So I get them to go into a really deeply relaxed state by calling in the beautiful star nectars to cleanse and filter through, and then more often than not connect with the heart and the nervous system to calm that down, because the calmer the person is, the more their energy body reveals secrets, shadow pieces, and very often, as you know, energy follows intention. So invite a journey right down into the depths of the earth, into a warm cave, and kind of create a feeling of really being held and contained in the arms of the great Mother Earth. And that provides a very warm, safe space from which to extract heavy energies, whatever they may be, whether they are, whether we're talking about sorcery or entities or attachments or an accumulation of stuff, however you want to describe it. And then then I have various techniques for doing that. And then but at the same time, I hope I'm educating people about how to do it for themselves, and then doing soul retrieval, or anima wahai, which is calling the soul part back from the place where Pachamama's been looking after it. Yeah, and then like I say, my intention really is to release, to get the energy flowing well, so that people feel they're in the flow of life again, and to feel empowered and nourished by all the nustas, the healing nectars of nature, and so to have more choice, really. And then emerging out of the session, we do a bit of role play, sort of say, all right, well, we've done this work, we've restructured your energy body, we've brought back a soul part, whatever we've done. Now we're going to play what if something happens and you could get triggered. So just to play with holding on to the integrity of those changes, going back out of the session. Yeah, and then if some people then become really interested in receiving some of the initiations that I've received, for example, or gaining more tools for their own spiritual shamanic progress.
Well, you've just mentioned initiations, and that intrigues me. I'm interested both in how often you might visit with a client. I know it would be different with every situation, but what is your normal experience with the duration of relationship of someone who might seek your help? And when do transmissions come into play? And could you describe that, the benefits of that, or what the experience of receiving a transmission might be like?
Okay, so for some people, one session is enough to just uh, get their mojo going again, and they're on a path, and that's enough. Some people, I wouldn't see any. I mean, every 2 weeks is unusual. It's more like every 5, 6 weeks, or, you know, for some people it's 4 times a year. So, you know, it's unlike uh, psychotherapy where, you know, you have a commitment to meet weekly, because we do a lot in a single session, and so it takes a while to assimilate all the changes. And I stay in email contact with people, and they send me photos of their mandalas, and so that's really nice, and or any questions they might have. Um, so it's very varied. And then there are some people who um, really go on a journey with it, and we, you know, we get into making dispatchos for different purposes. You know, it might be a relative has died, so they want me to do a dispatcho, or they want me to go to their house to do a house clearing and do a dispatcho related to that. Or yeah, it's every single time is different. And in terms of initiations, what I've found is that the way I go about it is I bring in shadow work to kind of till the soil before receiving an initiation, and so then people can make sense of it better. And that it's like, I don't know, it's a bit like a jump start, isn't it? It can get you onto the next level or the next stage of your evolution, or it can you know, clear, maybe for some people the fog lifts or something like that. But yeah, they're the initiations that I received from doing the Four Winds training from Caro, from Donna Maria. And yeah, they provide a very, because I when I did the medicine wheel, I had the experience of being turned inside out and going through this psychological dismemberment process. And I was up for that. I was prepared to be changed by it. And so, in my experience, the initiations propelled that and fed it, and gave me some nectar to keep me going and inspire me. And so I guess it's in that spirit that I then give them to other people.
And just one more question about this, Kate. In an initiation online, um, what might be a description of a process? What would a person experience?
So, say, so we would do an exercise which encourages, you know, uncovering some shadow pieces. So it could be looking at your biography, or looking at your relationship with your ancestors, whether they're alive or passed to spirit. And then so kind of looking at that, and then receiving the initiation itself. It's, as we know, so we create the conditions where we're in one bubble energetically, and then explaining what the essence of this particular um, initiation is about, and then transmitting it non-locally, you know, on, you know, and it works in the same way as working with the energy body does. I mean, when I'm working online with people, I bring I bring their energy body in front of me, and I go through the whole process as if they were actually lying there in front of me. And so it is with transmission of initiation. And I was working with a woman during lockdown who wanted to receive the Munai key, and she was at odds with her. She was Spanish. She was at odds with her family, and through this whole process, she cleared a lot that was blocking her, and she cleared a lot of ancestral Hucha, heavy energy. And the next thing I knew, you know, a year later, she wrote to me, and she was living back in Spain, and she'd come to terms with a lot of things. So yeah, I think that work it's very subtle, but it's very deep. I mean, for example, this is going off on a slightly different tangent, but when I was doing my training, we were invited to make an offering at our place of birth. So I was living in London at the time, and so I came to Stroud, which is where I was born, and I went to Swift's Hill, who is my nature father, and I took an offering, you know, with a baby photo and a dispatcho, and I had a little fire there, a little ceremony of gratitude. And at the time, I didn't think I would ever live here again. You know, I grew up here, and my childhood was happy, but it was also when my parents divorced, so I had very mixed feelings about the area. And but anyway, so I did, and also I was single, and I was really grieving ever having a child, and had given up on the idea. Anyway, so I'd made this dispatcher, this offering at my Ituapu at Swifts Hill, and I just can't describe it. I mean, it, it was a very beautiful, quite simple process. But, you know, the long and the short of it, it transformed my relationship with my nature parents, so that I became in relation to them on my terms and not via my biological parents. So it's like stepping into, right, here I am. Here I am, Kate, with my nature parents. You know, I guess it's like an adolescent rite of passage, really, you know, where you go from, you know, if we were living in a Stone Age tribal community at that time, you know, as you know, we would move from that being bound to our biological parents to then, you know, being in relation to earth and sky, and that's what it felt like. And so in making that change, in shifting my relationship and in shifting the energy, 2 years later, I found my partner and had a baby, and then we came to live here. You know, I'm not suggesting that that's what happens with everybody, but I'm just talking about the kind of mysterious way in which this works, which is very beautiful to me, you know. And there are many instances of that in my own experience, and also in, you know, the people who come to me one to one or in groups or whatever. Each opportunity, each meeting with spirit and with earth is an opportunity for transformation. And I would say that healing, whether it's one to one or groups or doing a river blessing or a fire ceremony, these are all where hopefully we're creating a ritual which provides a container and an opportunity for transformation. And then if I'm holding a ceremony like a river blessing or a fire ceremony, my intention in the holding of that is that participants have the opportunity to step into a deeper relationship with earth, water, spirit. And that's the essence of what the one-to-one healing is about.
I really appreciate, Kate, your sharing of your personal life experiences and the impact that the shamanic work has had on you so viscerally and practically. Could you speak a little about group opportunities to work with you, either in person or online?
Yeah, the at the moment, that aspect of my work is river blessings, and they are in person all around the southwest of England. And as you may be aware, there's the rivers in the UK are all dying. You know, there's no other way of putting it, really. And so lots of people are becoming more aware of this and wanting to do things about it in different ways. And the the river blessings are really an opportunity for people of all walks of life, spiritual, not spiritual, Christian, Druid, Sikh, Buddhist, mayors, MPs, scientists, everybody to come together and connect soul to soul, heart to heart with water. And it's an amazing experience. I've been doing it for 2.5 years now, and I've learned so much about water, this immense ancient, our oldest ancestor, this immense force of healing and power in the world. And just I think that the ceremonies change according to which body of water we're at and the nature of the water that we're at, and the group that's come together. But what happens is that even if we don't share the same political outlook, we all realize and come to a place of feeling really connected with water, and coming to the realization that we all are bodies of water, and that in ceremony we have the opportunity to exchange energies with water, which is, I would say, one of the most profound things that I've learned from the Kero. And so when they blow into a kintu like that act of blowing all your living energy, all of who you are in this moment, this time, this place, we do that. We collect waters that people have brought from where they live, and I make a raft out of branches, and people place flowers on, they blow. And that's such a simple thing, but it's such a profound act of embodiment and of experiencing the immanence of spirituality, and feeling part of rather than separate from nature. Such a simple thing that I've learned from the Kero. And then from Shirley Krenak of the Krenak tribe in Brazil, she gave a talk to a bunch of people at the Roundhouse in Chalk Farm in London after COP, when it was in Glasgow. And it was a bunch of artists, musicians, journalists, that kind of person. And she and the rest of the tribe, they had all their traditional makeup and costume on, so they looked really impressive, and spoke fluently through a translator. And she talked about how she had grown up by the river Watu, and she did all her cleaning, washing, playing, drinking. And after 100 years of iron ore mining, that river is now dead. And so it's obviously completely devastating. And they've had to change how they live, her tribe, the Crenant tribe. But what her message to us was, we don't need your help. We don't need to listen to you. We've had 500 years of that. We need you to listen to us. We're looking after the biome for our children and your children, and we're looking after water for our children and your children. And she got us to say, I am Watu. This is her water. So she said, I am Watu. And she got us all to repeat that. So 400 people all repeated that. And the atmosphere was absolutely electrifying. And I was sitting next to a journalist, and she said to me afterwards, something happened there, which I don't really understand. And what it was that stepping into, I am the water that runs through my valley and feeds this biome. I am this land. In hundreds of years' time, if we're buried, archaeologists, they'll look at my bones and they'll say, this person was born in Stroud and she went to the Andes and she lived in London for 30 years and she came back. It's written in our bones, our literal relationship with water and land. And it was such a transformative moment, and also such a deep teaching, that even though that river has been so badly polluted, she still identifies with it. She hasn't turned her back on it. And that gives me great hope for what we can do through ceremony and ritual to come into a deeper animistic relationship, and from there feel empowered and feel the nectar and the fuel to do what needs to be done. Because the technology's there, the science is there, but the will isn't. And so my understanding at the moment is that through this profound energy work, that we can make a shift. Yeah.
How beautiful. It reminds me of what you place in your quite exquisite website, katedeneen.com. And you have some videos there, you have some material there that includes weaving the warp and the weft, and this scientific impact, as you say, and then the devotional practices that you're so dedicated to personally, and that you are showing to others, having this impact of which you speak. As we come to a close for today, Kate, is there anything else that you've wanted to say or that you feel inspired to offer for people who might want to pursue work with you, to learn more about your sacred activism, to engage in your world, and to benefit as a result?
Thank you. Well, firstly, um, thank you for all your dedication and interest, and it's really wonderful talking with you. And I've watched a few of the other Shaman to Shaman videos, and I've been very moved by listening to other people as well. And so I really feel very honoured and relieved to be part of this community. I think there's nothing else quite like it, and I really appreciate the integrity of the way it's held. And Don Oscar Mira Quesada Soleva, I'm probably saying his name wrong, but listening to him one of the things he said was our destiny lies in our origins. And I really feel that at this point with my work and with what I see happening globally, that um, really seeking out our deep history, going way below that and seeing, that once upon a time, seeresses and prophetesses and priestesses were revered, and they were written about by Tacitus. And and so bringing back the sacred feminine and reinvigorating that for all, bringing that back into balance for all is feels very important. And I find I feel more grounded and connected the more I uncover about the belief systems of our ancestors and their relationship with natural spirituality, so that as well as having that beautiful um, technology gifted by the Kero, um, it helps me to understand what they were talking about when this monk was writing about the spell book, or Tacitus was writing about priestesses. It helps me to understand actually what that was about. And so I feel very passionate about um, that bridge between what the Kero are living and breathing and teaching right now, and how that helps me to understand what our ancestors were doing. Of course, we're not going to live like them. We're not going to live in the woods in roundhouses like they did. But it just to have an understanding that although that lineage is broken for us, that we can pick up the traces and we can understand that actually we hold a lot of that in our DNA still. And so now when I have a group, and I'll be doing it online as well, but in person I'm doing group work, which is at the moment called Shamanka Dreamer Witch. And it's kind of picking up that line that runs through. And when I kind of set the scene by telling a story about from our past here, through a myth, or you know, a wise woman buried in a long barrow not far from here, and the finds, or the ancient goddess culture. I kind of tell that story and then do a drum journey, and people, it's amazing what people come back with, because they will come back with stuff that I haven't told them, but which is true and which makes sense. And that tells me that it's in our DNA. All of that wisdom is already there, and it's in our bones, but it's also in the Akashic record, or the weird, or the Miskayani or Paititi or Avalon, that wisdom is still there somewhere for us to access, and that wisdom can help us in this time in ways that I don't really understand yet, but I feel hope with that. So yeah, thank you.
I think that's so beautiful, Kate, that you're coming back to the initial question, I think, which is the impact of your shamanic work, both personally and then globally through connection with the land. And certainly this relationship, this deep relationship that you have with the Kero, in enlivening your own land and your own relationship to the place that you know so well, proves the point. of the value of exploration in these realms and using the techniques that you've learned to clear people and to open their life to the flow and the path that they deserve. So, thank you so much for your work, Kate, and for telling us about how you go about your work, how you go about your practice. You're authentically involved in this work. We can tell how deeply you feel the life, the living life of the land, and your relationship and impact with it. Any final words?
Just thank you for this opportunity to talk about um, what I love talking about most of all, and for this sense of community, because it's very, very meaningful, and it's a complete delight to talk with you. And um, yeah, I look forward to connecting more with the community, because I think it's a really valuable and important place for us to come to exchange energies and harmonize energies.
Thank you so much, Kate. This is how we get to know one another, to spend time to sit with one another, in your case, to hear your particular take on the impact of energy work and personally in the world. We so appreciate your presence, your passion, and your participation in the global shamanic community. It does make a difference to me and all those who are listening to know that you are in your land doing what you do and offering your services to people online globally. Thank you, everyone, for watching this sit down today with Kate Dineen. And this is how we grow as the global community, listening, learning, and sharing with one another. To learn more about Kate, you could look at her website, as I've mentioned, and also visit her profile on shamansdirectory.com. As Kate's mentioned, there you can find resources for the other members of this growing shamanic community. And you can also experience some of the interviews and special presentations on our YouTube channel. Thank you so much for being a part of the global shamanic community. Until next time, this is Wake. We'll see you around the fire. Thank you.